Hello, America and the world. Welcome to another episode of Life After Lockup. This is a program that is designed to show the public another side of the criminal justice system, a side that sometimes is not shown on the news, a side that shows you sometimes the criminal justice system makes mistakes. Sometimes innocent men are incarcerated, not only incarcerated, but sometimes executed and later found out that they were innocent. Today on our program we have such a man, but before we introduce him, I want to show you, let you know some of the things that we are doing, the Life community is doing in the city of Paducah, Kentucky. I want to remind you that every first Monday of the month there is a ex-offender support group that meets at the W.C. Young Community Center at 5:30. All ex-offenders, all members of families that have inmates in prison, you're free to come out to these classes just to kind of give you some encouragement, just kind of show you what you need to do to try to maintain your freedom and just give you some good, helpful information. Every second and fourth Monday of the month, we have what we call Teen Ease, a program for teenagers 13 to 19. We meet at the community kitchen across from Allen Autos. All teenagers, food, fun, and fellowship, and we give you some good, helpful information on your development and how you can grow up to be successful. Also, every Tuesday at 11:30 at Christ Temple Church, we have what we call the Lifesaver class. These classes are designed for anyone with any life-controlling issues. It's an 8-week faith-based course. At the end of 8 weeks, you get a certificate of completion, and it can help you with food stamps, help you with housing and things of that nature. So come out and get some help with whatever your situation is. Now, today, I'm excited, and I hope you will be. Please call somebody, let somebody know that we are on. Today, we want to introduce you to Mr. Barney Brown. Barney, how you doing, man?
Doing well.
Good, good. Listen, I am so excited about you being here. I'm excited about your story. And now, just to kind of give an overview, you were 14 years old when you went to prison, I guess, in Florida. Now, kind of give us a little background about that. What you were charged with, and just kind of give us a little information about what was going on in your life at 14.
Well, at the age of 14, down in the Miami area, okay, is where I hometown. Okay. And at the age of 14, I was basically just an average kid, you know, trying to get through school and to follow my dreams. And as a young kid, my dream was to play for the Yankees, my favorite team even today. Oh, wow. But I was a pretty good athlete, baseball, and from the age of about 5, my dad trained me in the ways of baseball and gave me the skills and basic skills. So I more or less was pursuing that. Played high school ball, made all county, became a pretty good shortstop. Okay. And that was basically my dream. But like most kids during that time, you know, there's peer pressures and those type of things. My mother basically told me on a Saturday morning not to leave home. Right. You know, but then kids from the neighborhood came around, and I basically caved into the peer pressure and sort of snuck out the house and went on a trip with them. We would end up going up the state to an amusement park and hanging out and having a good time. Well, night began to fall, and we started back home. Right. I'm hoping that we can get there before my mother get home. Right. And it was strange that day. She told me that she had a bad feeling. That's why she didn't want me to leave the house. Right. Well, on the way back, it started to rain, and we swerving through the traffic. Me and 3 other youths. Okay. These youths, they were youths that I knew from the neighborhood. Right. You know, and they didn't tell me anything about what they had did, what they had been involved into the night before. Okay. Well, make a long story short, we were stopped by state troopers on the way home. State trooper came, and he looked in the car, and he seen that we were all around 13, 14 years of age, driving in a car. Right. And, you know, he told us that, you know, we had to slow down and, you know, we'll be okay and make it on back to where we was going. But before he left, he wanted to know just one question. he looked at all four of us in the car, and he asked the simple question, by the way, whose car is this?
Right.
And I had never even thought about that. You know. Well, the guy that was driving the car, he was about 14,
wow.
around my age. He came on with the perfect answer. He said it was his uncle's car.
Okay.
State trooper, he looked kind of suspicious on that. He said, well, okay, if the car is okay, you know, I'm going to run a check on the car. The car checks out okay. You know, you guys can go ahead on home. He went back, ran a check on the car, finds out that the car really is a stolen car.
Wow, okay.
Well, he told us we're going to have to be taken to a precinct, and, you know, they're gonna interrogate us. We get there, and I'm thinking about it. These guys hadn't told me that this car was a stolen car.
Okay.
They picked me up from home, you know, and they kind of urged me on to go with them.
Right, right.
You know, not knowing that they were really running from a situation.
Oh, wow.
I remember walking out of the yard, and they kept calling me a mama's boy. That was the thing that I didn't like what they was doing to me. Well, I made up my mind I'm going to show them that, you know, I'm not a mama's boy. I can do things if I choose to. I just wanted to prove to them that I was not that way. So in essence, I gave in to their peer pressure.
Okay.
And I remember walking out of the yard, and I looked back at the house, and I had this bad feeling. I had this feeling that this was not the right thing to do.
Right.
But then one of the guys said, come on, we'll be back before your mother get home.
Right, right.
And that kind of sold me. So I got in the car with them, and now I find myself being taken to a precinct somewhere around West Palm Beach. They take us there, and they separate us. They put us all in different rooms, all four of us. And they begin to interrogate us one after the other. Well, I was the third guy they interrogated. The first two guys, they came back, and they were shaking, and they were crying, and something had happened to them. When I went in, they told me, Barney, we're not playing here. We want to know about this car. Said that this car was used in a brutal home invasion. And I'm like, wow. I didn't even have a clue. So I explained to them that, you know, these were my friends. They picked me at home. They didn't tell me anything about that. But these officers, they wanted more than that. They wanted more than I was able to tell them. Well, make a long story short, they beat the crap out of me.
Wow.
Bottom line.
Wow.
But I couldn't tell them anything about the crime because I didn't do nothing. I just kept pleading with them that, hey, you know, I don't know anything about this. I kept pleading, let me make a phone call. I knew at 14 that you were entitled to a phone call. They told me, you're not getting any phone call. You need to tell us about this car. Where did you get this car from? And what happened in this crime that was committed in this car? And I couldn't answer none of it. Eventually, they gave up on me. They put me back in the cell, and I was very depressed and close to really going trauma. I didn't know what to do, you know, but I kept asking them about a phone call. I had seen that somewhere in a movie or something, that you always get a phone call. So I kept asking about a phone call, and they kept telling me, you're not calling anyone.
Now, you were 14 years old.
14 years of age. Well, we would stay there 3 days. On the third day, they came and told us that you're going to be extradited back to Miami-Dade County. And they said that we would be interrogated for this brutal home invasion. A woman had been raped. Her husband had been assaulted. The family had been robbed and held captive in their home for so many hours by 2 African-American kids. Now, they got a car with 4 of us in the car. So obviously, they know that 2 had nothing to do with the crime. Anyway, they take us to Miami-Dade County, and they take us on the top floor of the homicide building, all the way in the back. It's about 3 in the morning when we get there, and there's nobody in the building. And these 2 homicide investigators, they basically, again, they separate us, and again, they begin to interrogate us one by one. But this time, they use a technique called the Jeff in the Mutt technique. This is an illegal technique that they use on children, mostly to get them to confess to crimes. Well, This time I was the second kid that they called in. When I walk in, I see this big officer, big guy with muscles, I mean, tight shirt.
Wow.
And he had on black leather gloves. I knew then that it would be a problem. Well, he started out describing to me a scenario. He said, Barney, I'm not going to play with you. I just want to know all about this home invasion. I want to know about what happened here. And I said, well, okay, that's simple. I don't know anything about it.
Wow.
And he said, Barney, I'm not playing games with you. You're going to talk. You're going to tell me everything you know. And I told him, well, hey, I don't know anything, man. I don't know what can I tell you, you know. And then the other officer was a kind of older guy, looked like Andy on Mayberry or something.
Okay.
But he was a very friendly guy. He kept urging me, Barney, just cooperate with him, and you know he won't hurt you or harm you.
Right, like good
you know,
cop, bad
it was
cop.
good cop, bad cop
Right.
scenario. Well, my problem was I couldn't tell them anything because I didn't know anything.
Right.
But had I known anything, I would have told
Right.
them. Well, he said, Barney, let me tell you something. He said, I could kill you right now and no one would ever know. I can simply say that you tried to take my gun and the gun accidentally went off and you died. He said, that's what you want? Do you want to die? You're going to tell me everything. Wow. That's what he told me. And I said, sir, I've told you everything that I know. I don't know anymore. He said, Barney, I'm telling you, I don't play games. You see, oh, you want to play games? We can play a game. He takes out his service revolver. He takes all of the bullets out of the gun and he sits it on the table. He said, you want to play games or do you want to tell me the truth? And I began to sense that this guy wasn't too stable, you know. I started to beg him and pleading him that I didn't know anything. He said, well, okay, you just want to play games. He takes one of the shells and he put it in the chamber and he clicks it right in my face.
Jesus.
And I'm like, wow, this man is crazy. So you going to talk or you going to die? And he takes another shell and the other guy was like, hey, calm down, man. Take it easy, man. It's just a child, man. He's going to talk. He's going to cooperate. That's what he kept telling me. And I'm looking at him. Please stop him, sir. Stop him. He's going too far. But he grabbed the third bullet and put it in the chamber and clicked it right in my face. You going to talk? And now I had to make some choices here. If he put another bullet in it, I don't know. I know it's 3 bullets already in there, and I wasn't going to chance the 4th one. So now I got to make a decision based on the same scenario he had told me about earlier. Chance my life. Well, when he went for the 4th bullet, I decided the best thing is to try to save my life, and I tried to go for his hand. I grabbed his hand like that, and we went into an actual struggle, and he hit me across the face like this with the gun. Wow. And all I could remember going down, don't fall, don't fall. Try to keep your balance. But I couldn't because he began to kick me. Began to kick me in the side and in the face, kicking me, and he was screaming and hollering. He just lost all control, and the other guy, the other older police officer was saying, stop, man, you're going to kill him, you're going to kill him, stop. And all I know is I blanked out. Well, when I woke up, this side of my face was swollen up very bad. I couldn't even see out this eye. My vision right today is still very bad in this particular eye, Jesus. Where he kicked me all in the face. But I was standing before a juvenile court judge. Somehow they had taken us before this juvenile court judge, and they asked this judge, would he allow them to take all 4 of us on a live lineup? You know, the judge said, well, okay, you can take them on a live lineup, and, you know, if they're identified, then we'll go ahead and deal with them. So they took us on a live lineup, and right off, the witnesses in the case said that this one is not one of them.
Pointing to you.
Me. I was much too small. The other two were kind of taller guys and much bigger than him. We know he's not one of them.
Right.
But they did identify one of the youths in the car
Okay.
as being a participant in the home invasion. So I'm thinking that my problems are over with.
Right.
I'm finally gonna go home. Well, we go back before the same juvenile court judge, and They argued to the judge to allow them to hold us a few days. Maybe they can come up with just a little bit more evidence to get the other one.
Right.
So the judge didn't want to do it, but he said, I'm going to give you 30 days, but I'm going to set a trial date for 30 days. And in the 30 days, if you haven't had your evidence, we're going to try them and we're going to resolve this case. So now I'm confined there at the Juvenile Detention Center in Dade County for 30 days. 30 days go by, they come in and argued. Well, they asked the judge, they argued to the judge to allow them to try us as an adults. The judge said, absolutely not. I've given you 30 days. Either come up with evidence against them or we're going to go forward with the trial. They couldn't come up with anything. They hold a trial. They call their witnesses in, and the witnesses all come in again and testified that I had nothing to do with the crime. Wow. I was not one of them.
Wow.
The judge, based on that, he acquitted me of all the charges that they had against me, and he ordered that my family be contacted. During this time, my family has not been contacted.
So they didn't even know where you were?
My mother was literally going crazy. She thought that I had been kidnapped or killed.
Wow.
She had no idea that I was one county over in the cell and being treated very brutal. She had no idea.
Wow.
In fact, she reported me as a missing child. They searched, they called her, and they told her that we would be looking. If they came up with anything, they would let her know. She never heard from them.
Wow.
Well, after the judge acquitted me, the juvenile court judge, she acquits me of the charges. She ordered that my parents be contacted, and they come down and pick me up. They placed me in a holding cell to wait for my parents to come and get me. I'm sitting there in the holding cell, and these same two detectives show up. They come in and they tell the supervisors there that they come to take me. The people there said, well, you can't take him. He's been found not guilty, and his parents will be to pick him up. They told him, we don't care about that. We're not honoring the judge's decision.
What?
We're going to take him. And they took me by force. They literally dragged me out, and they put me in a car, and they drove me to a wooded area. They drove me around town all that day until it became dark.
Wow.
And they took me in a wooded area, and they opened the door, and the big guy again, the same big guy, he says, get out of the car. And I'm like, it's pitch dark, you can't see anything. And I'm like, I'm not going to get out this car right here. And I can see that he has his hand behind his back. He said, you're free. You're free to go. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to get out the car. He said, yes, you are. You're going to get out this car now. You're free. Get out. Go. And I'm like, I kind of sense he's going to try to he's going to try to kill me or something.
Right.
So I don't move. He started to screaming and hollering. In fact, he used the N-word. He says, nigger, get out and run.
Wow.
You're free. Go. And again, I was like, if I don't do something here, this guy's going to kill me right here. But by the grace of God, I don't know how it happened. A car came out of nowhere, out of the dark. And the headlights in the car hit me right in the face. And I was just sitting there crying and trying to decide what to do.
Right.
And whoever was in that car, they said, what are you doing to the kid?
Wow.
Why is he crying? What's going on here? And the big guy told him, move the car on. I'm law enforcement. Keep moving, keep moving. And the people who were in the car, they kept insisting, what are you doing to that kid?
Right.
What are you doing?
Right.
And he told them that if you don't move the car, you're going to be arrested. And the car began to slowly drive away, and I was like, please don't go, please don't go.
Wow.
But then the car just, it drove away.
It's all right, it's all right, it's all right. It's okay.
Well, I just knew that this guy was going to kill me.
Yeah.
At that point, he was shaking, and the other officer, I don't know, something maybe touched his heart. He said, no, you can't do this, man. The old officer said, no, man, you've gone too far, man. Right. You're out of control. And the big guy was just standing there, and he was just shaking. and shaking, and I thought that any minute he would just use his gun on me.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he calmed down and he slammed the car door. He got back in the car, and they drove me to Dade County Jail. They took me out of the car and they sit me in a holding cell in Dade County Jail, and they left. I would sit there about 2 hours, and finally a deputy came over and said, "Why are you here?" I told him, "I don't know why I'm here." He said, "Well, you're a child. You can't be down here in the lobby. We're going to take you upstairs to an isolated cell so you don't have to be in a holding cell with adults."
Right.
Well, they took me upstairs to this cell, and I would be up there 3 months. 3 months would go by before anyone would come to see me. Jeez. Finally, a public defender came to see me. And he said, "Barney, I got some bad news for you." I'm like, wow, what can go any worse than this?
Right.
He said, "Barney, they're going to try you as an adult." I said, "I've already been tried, man. How do they try me as an adult?" He said, "Forget about what all has happened in the juvenile court. That doesn't matter anymore. They're going to try you again as an adult."
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm just totally confused now about what's going on. Well, at least he contacted my mother.
Right, right.
My mother came down, and she was just glad that I was alive.
Right.
The family was glad that I hadn't been killed, and they were only concerned that, you know, that I was alive. Right. And my mother told me she don't care what they accused me of, don't matter, but just work with this public defender, you know. The public defender said that the only way that I can get out of this was I would have to plead guilty for a 3-year sentence, and they would send me to a youthful offender facility. So I told him, I said, "Well, wait a minute, I haven't done anything, and I've been to trial and been found not guilty on all of this stuff they accuse me of. Why do I have to plead guilty?"
Right.
He said, "Well, that's what the state is offering you. 3 years at a youthful offender camp if you would just simply say you did it." And my mother kept urging me. She said, "Don't matter, just say it. I don't want you to die." I was facing death penalty charges. In 1970, the crime of rape or home invasion, that was a capital offense charge. Right. So I would face the death penalty.
Wow.
If I don't take 3 years at this youthful offender camp. Well, I told my mom that I just couldn't do that.
Right.
How do I go in a courtroom and say I did something that I didn't do?
Right.
I basically would have to lie against myself to do that. And it was just all crazy to me. I told her I wouldn't do it, Mother. If I have to die, then I'll take my chances.
Wow.
If I have to die for telling the truth. Yes, in these decisions, they never gave me any type of psychological evaluation or anything. During this time, it was not even mandatory. Case law had not been developed in those areas back in the early 70s.
Right.
Well, I would eventually stand trial as an adult. It was a closed courtroom. The court was closed to no public was allowed in, and they put me on trial.
Wow.
An all-white jury. I'm accused of a home invasion against a white family.
Right.
We would go on trial. The witnesses would come in one after the next and said that, well, I'm not sure, he's not the one. The state would, their open argument, they would say that, hey, we really have to admit that we don't have an identification in this case, but we will try to link him to the crime through circumstantial evidence.
Wow.
The circumstantial evidence would be that I was actually in the car that was used in the home invasion.
Right.
And the prosecutor would drill and drill the jury with that idea. Well, in the end, 3 hung juries.
Wow.
The judge tells them on the 4th shot that we're not leaving here without a verdict. Well, they came back with a verdict of guilty on the 4th time. Well, based on that, the judge would sentence me. He would accept, they voted 7-5 not to take my life.
Right.
7 people voted that I should not die, and 5 people thought that I should die for this crime. Based on their recommendation, the 7, he sentenced me to Florida State Prison for the rest of my natural life.
Wow, wow. 14 years old.
Well, I was 15 at that
by
time.
that time.
A year had gone by. I'm sitting there, and my thoughts were that, okay, this is some type of scare tactic
It ain't
that
real.
they're using, that this is not even real. Maybe this is some type of mock trial they're doing to frighten me because I left home when my mother told me not to.
Right.
You know, and maybe it's going to be okay. But then they walked me out of the courthouse, and I remember that there was a couple there trying to pass out religious tracts. And they told her to back up. Don't get close to him. He's a condemned man. And the lady told me, she said, son, I don't know what you've been accused of or what just happened in that courthouse, but I want you to remember that God has never lost a battle. Those were her words to me, and it rang in my mind, well, what's going to become the outcome of this?
Right. Wow.
Well, I was hauled off to a prison.
Now you're 15. Were you hauled off to an adult prison?
Adult prison. I was sentenced to life with no chance of ever getting out. So they sent me to maximum security prison. All adults there. I'm a child, very small child, less than 100 pounds. And I was thrown into that situation. They literally stripped me of everything, all of my dreams, everything, gone. But the one thing that they could not take from me, one thing.
What was that?
It was hope.
Hold that thought right there.
Yes.
Hold that thought, because we got a little less than 1 minute now before we begin our second half of this show. This is powerful. This is powerful, and we're going to continue this at part 2 of this. I want you to tune in for the second part of Life After Lockup. You have a marvelous day.